Struggling to make ends meet? This free local program has your back.
Today we're going to be talking about a service in our community that I see referenced quite often on Facebook when people are looking for help, but not quite sure what the services are that they offer. So I'm really excited today to be able to bring to you the services of Eastern Plains Community Action Agency. My crew today is Bobby Hockaday and Joyce Runyon, and I am your host, Brenda Bishop. And our special guests today are Isabel Gonzales, the Executive Director of Eastern Plains Community Action Agency, and Pagie Evans, the Interim Program Director for the Head Start program that they also run there. And so thank you, ladies, for coming. We're excited to be able to share this information with the community. So I thought we'd start with telling us a little bit about what your organization is and your mission and those kinds of things, and then go into the services.
Sure. Well, thank you, Brenda. Thank you for the invite to have us here for this podcast. We appreciate that. So we have Eastern Plains Community Action Agency. We service 7 counties out of the agency here in Tucumcari. A lot of people don't know that, but we do service 7 counties. This is the main hub. We are a 501c3 company, nonprofit. We service low-income families. Our mission is to service low-income families to help them empower and educate them to become self-sufficient. We do have the Head Start program in our agency, as well as our Community Services Block Grant. I'll first touch base on the Community Services Block Grant, and then I'll have Paige go into the Head Start program.
That sounds good.
Okay. So the first one is the Community Services Block Grant. This is actually run out of the state. This program helps low-income families with rent and food assistance. We do rental assistance up to $300. If a client comes in and say their rent is, say, $200, we'll pay $200. But if they're behind on their rent, we'll pay up to $300 for 1 year.
So every month for a year, or
just one time a year? Yes. We do food vouchers, $150 also. We do have different vendors in the communities that, of course, here in Quay we have Lowe's. But in other counties we do have other grocery stores where the clients can go to those grocery stores to get those.
And this is a one-time?
One-time also.
For a year?
For 1 year, yes. Our Community Services Block Grant, it's not like a really big budget, but we do use a lot of that budget to help the low-income families to get back on their feet if they need assistance. We also do partnership with Heat New Mexico, where the clients can go get assistance filling out applications there, and we can do the submission to help them with their gas bills. So we actually do that service there also.
Okay, so and the Heat New Mexico is not run by you all. It's just you're just helping them with the application, and if they get funded, then it's like a one-time help with heat bill?
Yes, it's a one-time fund. The Heat New Mexico, they only operate within a certain time of a period amount. Usually it'll open like sometimes in November and close like in February. It just really depends when they send out that email saying services are open for Heat New Mexico, but we do partnership with Heat New Mexico.
Well, and that's a service that's well needed here a lot of times, because people don't realize until they get ready to winter hits that their gas is a little higher. It really goes up.
Yes.
And they can't pay that gas bill, and then they have no gas.
Yes. That's one of our big things, is helping them with that. We do get a lot of low-income families that come in for assistance with electrical bills. We did kind of talk a little bit about that to see if that's something we can implement in our policies. We're just kind of checking to see if our funding is going to be there to kind of help with those services, to help the staff with that. The clients.
So are you able to help link them into other services in the community, like is it line help or something like that?
We have like LIHEAP that we can refer them to, St. Vincent's de Paul. Yes, we do have other organizations where we can refer out the clients.
Okay.
Yes.
Because there's so much need.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So as people, if they need to access these services, how do they find you, and what do they need to make an appointment? Tell us about that.
Okay, so we have an open door policy, so they can go in at any time. Our hours for CSBG are 8 to 12, 1 to 5, Monday through Friday. They can go in anytime. Usually if somebody's there, they'll probably, of course, have to wait a little bit. What they'll need to do if they need services, they don't really need to call, but we can send out applications by email or by mail. But our phone number is 575-461-1914, and they can ask for a CSBG outreach worker. They can actually go into the office, and they can, let them know by phone what they need to bring in, or they can come into the office. In order to be eligibility for those requirements to apply, they'll need to bring in their income, usually their driver's license, verifying their identity, and their social security card, as well as if they are on benefits like food stamps, TANF, things like that. If they have that award letter, they'll need to bring that in, and we'll be able to assess their eligibility at that time.
Okay. And for eligibility requirements, do they have to be below poverty? Is there a amount of money above poverty that they can be?
Yeah, we actually have a income eligibility chart that we go by. It's 125% above the poverty. So we do have that chart based on how many families are in the household. So if there's, 2 persons in that household, what is that eligibility going to look like for them? And then we'll be able to determine that day if they are eligible for services or not. If they have all their documentation in, the process is very simple. They get, their food voucher that same day, and they can go get their groceries that same day. If it's a rent voucher, it usually takes a few days for that to get processed through our accounts payable system. And they have to remember too, a lot of times the clients come in and they think that money is going to go to them. It doesn't go to them. It goes strictly to that landlord for those services. So a lot of times they get that confusion, but the check isn't actually wrote out to them. It's for the landlord.
So sometimes when I'm over at your building, I only see signs for Head Start. So it's hard for people to realize that there's another office in there. And do they go to the same door as Head Start's door, or is there a different door? How do they find your office?
So our office is actually through 2 brown double doors. So we have in that area, we also have the CSBG program, but we also have our fiscal office. That's why it's kind of closed off a little bit. There is a sign that says Community Services Block Grant when you go through that door, but that's a good question, so we can actually get that out there a little bit more.
Yeah, but I mean, do you go, if I drive up to the building, do I go into the big double doors that say Head Start on the front and buzz the buzzer there?
Yes, you can go to either side, yes. There's multiple doors, so everybody gets confused.
Yes.
So
I know I don't go to the back.
There's so many doors because there's so many, the classrooms. A lot of parents come in through the back for the class, just to kind of keep the traffic down a little bit from the front. And then we also have, other access doors as well. But yeah, there's doorbells, so you can ring any one of those doorbells. And usually somebody there will direct you where somebody needs to go for those services.
I just had noticed that when I've been over there for Head Start that, well, where is their office and how do you get to it?
Yeah. Yes.
So that is your main program, but you also are over the Head Start.
Yes.
And Head Start is also in all 7 counties?
Yes, we have 7 counties for Head Start that we service, but there's only locations where we actually have the Head Start, which is Curry, Roosevelt, DeBaca, and Guadalupe. Or not DeBaca anymore. DeBaca, we actually had to close down the Fort Sumner site because due to enrollment with the children. So we actually had to move that modular site to Curry County, to Clovis, to service more families there.
Okay. So, Pagie, can you tell us a little bit about Head Start and what its benefits are?
Absolutely. So, Head Start is a school readiness program. A lot of people misperceive it as a daycare. we teach an actual curriculum. We assess the children. There's many domains that are taught to these children. To become eligible for the program, of course, again, it's geared toward poverty. Within our computerized system, it helps us identify whether those families qualify or not through a screening process. All the families have to do is bring in proof of income, the birth certificate, and immunizations of the children to show that they're current. If they're having a hard time getting those things, our enrollment coordinator helps to get those things in place for them. Of course, we serve pregnant moms and birth to 5. The babies do have to be 6 weeks and a day before we can take them in. And then we have our early Head Start, and we have our Head Start currently here in this community. It's a home-based model that we're using right now until we get that facility in place. We do have a attendance policy within our Head Start program. So a lot of families think, again, that it's a daycare, so they drop them off when they need them and don't, and so Office of Head Start does require, in order for us to receive our funding, that those children have to be in attendance 85% of the time. And so a lot of families have to be, educated on that because they don't know those things. Another thing another great thing about Head Start, I love Head Start. I was actually a Head Start kid myself and parent, and now as a interim program director for the program. But what I really love about Head Start is it's more than just about academics. We focus on nutrition, family services, health, all kinds of, the whole picture of the child and the family. And so I know that within the program, I remember my brother-in-law having a conversation with me one day when I was like, oh yes, I was having a conversation about the early Head Start. And he said, babies go to school? And I was like, absolutely. And so he says, well, what could they possibly learn, And I had to, educate him that, when babies are being taught that tummy time, that builds their core, which is important for them to crawl and then be able to walk. I explained to him, like, when babies are picking up Cheerios with their fingers, that's that fine motor, hand-eye coordination. And so also when our educators are caring for the babies, they're communicating with them as they're changing them, as they're feeding them. And so that's building their vocabulary bank. So once they're older to communicate, they're able to do that. Mm-hmm. And then, so we have 5 domains that we focus on within our program. One is approaches to learning. And so that just helps kids understand, like, the different ways of learning. And then engaging in play with other children, how to, ask for certain things within the classroom and from others. And then we also teach them about math. And so through the play, because a lot of people think, Head Start's just about play, but children learn through their play. So when you're doing things like playing in the water table and you have measuring cups, you're teaching them about, measurements, and you're teaching them about, what's the word I'm looking for? Where you tape measure.
Yes, tape measures.
that how long things are and things like that. And so we teach that. We also have a literacy. So we do a lot of read aloud with the children. We have set up libraries in every classroom. The children are able to go explore the books. They have also science. And so children, that seems to be one of the popular areas with the children, is they really love the science. And then they extend that play to outdoors as well, because the outdoors, of course, is full of science, And then we also work with them on social and emotional, because we definitely know that there's a need for that. Children aren't born knowing how to share and how to express their emotions and regulate their feelings and things like that. And so it's very important that that's a main topic for us to teach children, is that importance of getting along with others and being able to communicate their feelings versus hitting someone or, throwing a tantrum or anything like that. So we firmly believe, just like children need to be taught math and spelling and all those other core subjects, they have to be taught social and emotional as well. And so those are some of the main pieces that we do present with our program. And we, our mission and our model for our Head Start program is that, we teach children, we reach families, and we help them build that foundation for life successes, because we want them to understand that, they have those same opportunities as anybody else based on this support this program's willing to offer them. Another piece I want to talk about is the oral health that we teach the children. A lot of people, whenever they would come in, they'd be like, "Oh my goodness, you guys brush your teeth?" And it's like, yes, twice a day, once with fluoride and once without. Except for our early, they do not use fluoride for toothbrushing. But for the babies, they do use swabs and swab their little gums and things like that. We work with the families on once the child erupts a tooth, then that's a time to start taking that baby to get those dental screenings, because early detection is key, because we all know that if you have a toothache or any kind of oral issue, you're not going to learn well. It's going to be hard for you to pay attention and focus. And, it presents itself as children acting out when they're actually unable to communicate that they're having some type of pain based on oral issues that they may be having. Another area that we focus on is disabilities. So we do serve 10% of our children have to have a disability. So that's just to help make sure that we're not excluding those children, from programs. And so that we've never had an issue getting those children enrolled in our program. And so that process actually starts through our Ages and Stages questionnaire that the families do alongside the teachers. And it's a screening tool that's used to help detect that early need for that. Sometimes families, whenever they get the results, it's not the results they want. And so they're like, "Oh, you're saying my kid needs extra help." And so we're trying to help families understand, like, that's not a bad thing. Early intervention is important. Your child may need these services now, but they may not need those services when they get older. Versus waiting until they get in those older grades and then they're further behind because of the stigma around, special services and things like that. And so we work with the families on getting those children referred out for those services so that they can be successful in their school.
And that's so important.
Very important.
You get them up to all the little skills they need, and it can be something as easy as some speech and learning to make sounds properly.
Absolutely.
And it can be. My daughter who had special motor skill issues, so we had a little bit of OT time when she was really, really little, and so that really helped her make it.
Absolutely.
And so, it's so important.
Very.
And what you talked about, the social, emotional, and we're seeing that so much now in the schools where they miss that whole year of that, and the schools are struggling. So having, being able to learn those skills early on before they even get to school.
Very important.
Yes.
Very important. And so there's so many pieces of the Head Start program that many don't quite understand or know. And I always invite people, come on in and see what we're about. We're not a secret organization. We're public and things like that.
So, is it a whole day program and what are the hours and those kinds of things?
So the children. They can come in at 7:45 to 2:30. And so through that course of time, they have a resting period. So once they have lunch, they have cots to lay down and rest. Some will take a nap. Some will just lay there and play with a toy. Or if they don't want to rest, they sit at the table and do a quieting activity with the teachers. And then they are dismissed at 2:30.
Okay. And do they go 5 days a week or 4 days a week? Or since our schools are 4 days?
Yes. So we are a 5-day-a-week program. We do, however, see a decrease in attendance on Fridays. because a lot of the children are being kept home with their older siblings and things like that. But we really encourage families, to even send their kids to school on Friday. For one, you're going to ensure that they get a healthy breakfast in the morning, a healthy lunch. They're going to be being taught through the day while you're at work. And so we really encourage them to continue to bring them, even though there is no public school in session.
And I assume you have like some of the same pickup rules and things like that that schools would have. So what happens for parents who don't get off work by 2:30?
So the parents that typically don't get off by 2:30, we have what's called a permission slip. So anybody on that permission slip can pick up that child as long as they're 18 and over. If it's someone who's new picking up that child, the teachers will ask for a form of ID to match it to the list that the parents have filled out. And so as long as that person's on that list, they can take that child. If they're not on that list, we can't take a phone call like, hey, that's my sister. We let him go. And it's like, sorry, we can't, because that's a legal binding document that we have to comply with.
So make sure you have your support staff or on your list.
Yes.
So I think early on you mentioned something about family support. So what kind of family support do you offer?
So for our family services support, and we actually just recently brought on what's called family service workers. And so these family service workers are the initial contact person whenever families enroll into our program. And they meet with the family and see what the family needs are. So let's say that a family comes in and they're saying, we're really struggling with, finding clothes for our kids for school. So their role is to help link those families to providers that can help with that. We also help those families with, being advocates for their own children, because a lot of them may not know how to go about that process. And so our family service workers will support them along that route with that to ensure that those children have that same opportunity as everybody else when it comes to their well-being and education and things like that. And they build those relationships with them. So if they can't talk to the teachers, that's a person they can talk to about anything, whether it's personal matters or matters with the school itself, things like that.
Okay. Well, sounds like a wonderful program. I love both of your all's passion for your jobs or for your organizations.
Thank you.
You've been here a long time.
I love
Yes.
Head Start. I'm a firm believer in it. I know, like I say, I was a Head Start kid, and I worked, I started off as an assistant teacher, and then I moved on up, and there's days I miss the classroom, but I do get to go in and say hi to the kiddos and hang out with them a little bit. So it gives me that satisfaction of being able to be back in that moment with the kiddos. Another thing I wanted to add is that we do have a focus on nutrition. And so we're teaching those children about healthy eating habits. And then that family style setting. So when families come, they'll see the children sitting at the table with the teachers and they're serving themselves. And so we're teaching children initially when we start at the beginning of the year, of course, we teach them hand over hand. So, and then we help them, hold the jug for the milk to pour it in the cups. And then as time progresses, children learn to do that on their own. It helps, with that independence. And, I don't have to wait for you to help me get my food on my plate because I just have to ask my peer here next to me, hey, can you pass me the grapes? And that individual passes, I serve myself, and we're eating, and we see that as a time of communication too. We don't expect to walk into a classroom and it's just kids are eating, teachers are eating, and there's no communication going on, because that's another time to be building children's vocabulary and language skills.
It is. So is there anything that we didn't cover about either of the programs that you want to make sure we got in?
I think, I don't know if the community knows, but this is a free service, the Head Start. They don't have to pay for their food for the children. Diapers, we purchase the diapers, the milk, the formula, whatever they need. Everything is taken care of, so it's a free service. The only thing we ask, for parents is, bring an extra set of clothes in case the children have accidents, because a lot of times we don't have those things on hand. So, yes, but with that free
Yeah.
service, and a lot of families don't realize that they don't have to pay.
Yeah. And then another thing also in the eligibility side of it is, if a family's getting SNAP benefits, that's an automatic, they get into the program. If they're considered in the, if they're living with someone else and that person any day could say, you got to go, those families automatically qualify for the program. And so there's many opportunities for them to participate in the program. And sometimes we'll hear, well, we make too much money, so we're not going to apply. However, we are able to enroll some of those families that are over income or over those guidelines, but we have to make sure that we've enrolled all those ones that are at that 100% poverty guideline first, and then we can bring those others in.
Okay. And the other thing we mentioned before we started recording was when people can sign up for Head Start.
Yeah.
And I was surprised by that answer.
Yes, so we are a year-round enrollment period program. So we actually even enroll children up to 2 weeks before school's out. So Office of Head Start believes that children can learn something in that 2 weeks. And so we do have families that will enroll them there. And the good thing about that is if that child's going to return, they get a continuation application so that they'll be able to be on the wait list for the following year to enroll with our program.
And you follow the school year basically, so you're out during the summer?
For our Head Start program, yes, we're 9 months. Our early Head Start, we're year round. So the teachers are out for a couple of weeks in the summer just to recoup and then do their trainings and back to business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so before we end, one more time, go ahead and give us the address, the phone number, so we make sure everybody gets that information.
Sure. So our physical address is 210 West Center Street here in Tucumcari. Our phone number is 575-461-1914. And that's how you can reach us at our agency.
And we'd like to thank you both for coming. And we have these Health IQ tumblers.
Thank you.
One for you and one for you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you taking some time to come visit with us.
Thank you so much.
And share about your programs to our community.
Absolutely.
And come back next time as we will have another interesting topic for you and your family.
Special thanks to our discussion contributors for this episode: Isabel Gonzales, Executive Director, Eastern Plains Community Action Agency. And thanks to Pagie Evans, Interim Program Director for Head Start. Our host was Brenda Bishop, Quay County Health Council Coordinator.
And that brings us to the end of another episode of Health IQ. We had a great time putting this together for you.
Absolutely. We couldn't do it without the whole team. A big thank you to our director, Robert F. Hockaday.
And to our producers, the team behind the curtain. That would be Robert F. Hockaday and Joyce Runyon.
They're also the ones who handle all the technical stuff, like the video and audio. Again, that's Robert F. Hockaday and Joyce Runyon.
And for all you camera enthusiasts out there, the camera operator for this episode was Robert F. Hockaday, with Joyce Runyon as our second assistant camera.
And finally, a huge shout out to our amazing editors, Robert F. Hockaday and Joyce Runyon. They're the ones who make us sound good.
And of course, we can't forget the music. Special thanks to David Morris for providing the credit music.
That's it for this week. Thanks for tuning in to Health IQ.
We'll see you on the next episode.
Funding for this podcast is provided by New Mexico Legislative Appropriation from Representative Jack Chatfield. Brought to you by Quay County Health Council. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at Quay County Health. If you have content ideas, reach out to us at healthiqpodcast@gmail.com.
This podcast was created solely for educational and entertainment purposes. It is not intended as a substitute for advice from a healthcare or mental health professional.